Good evening. The Charter Township of Plymouth Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday. Thank you. For Tuesday, May 26, 2020 will come to order. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Heitman.
Here.
Trustee Dempsey.
Present.
Clerk Vorba here. Trustee Dorshevitz.
Here.
Trustee Kermy.
Here.
Treasurer Clinton.
Here.
Supervisor Heisey.
Here.
All present. We have a quorum.
Very good. Mr. Dorshevitz, Trustee Dorshevitz, why don't you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Item B1 is protocol and procedures for the May 26th meeting. This is a live meeting tonight, and we are in our COVID-compliant 6-foot plus arrangement here at Township Hall. Trustee Kermy is on speakerphone, and we encourage folks to call in at the number that was provided in the agenda for this meeting. Anyone who is from the public right now is more than likely been muted for the purposes of this meeting. We will unmute you at the time of the public hearing for the MITC Brownfield Authority, and we will unmute you at the end of the meeting when it's time for public comments. If you do have a comment, you hit *9 on your phone. That will allow us to recognize you, and we will bring you through on the speakerphone. If you are watching on TV and on your phone, you will notice that there is at least a 30-second delay between the television and the phone. So if you are on TV and on your phone, we would ask that you turn off the volume on your TV so you can follow along more efficiently. I think that would be the preferred method. Okay, let's see. We're going to move on to the approval of the agenda, item C. Any comments?
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move for the approval of the agenda Tuesday, May 26, 2020.
Motion's made by Clerk Vorba. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Heitman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item D is approval of the consent agenda. Any comments or questions from the board on the consent agenda?
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey.
First, on the minutes. We look at the first page, which is 4 of 88 in the packet.
Right. You're going to speak up. I can't really hear you too well.
So if we look at page 4 of the packet, the first page of the proposed May 16th minutes, how's that?
Okay.
It says it's a regular meeting at the top. Under C, it calls it a special meeting. So it should be,
It's a special meeting.
should say special meeting at the top then.
Yes.
Under B1, it calls it an audio-only meeting, and I understand that's how you did the notice and so forth. Obviously, we were present, some of us. So is that clear enough for the minutes, for the record, for posterity?
Well, what I can say is that it was a live meeting with audio attendance by other members and the public.
Right.
Okay.
Taped before a live studio audience.
Yes. With a laugh track.
Yeah.
Page 6 of 88 in the packet, under E1, the very last line says ayes all on a roll call vote, and that is not accurate. I believe I was requested to make a motion for unanimous approval, and then we did a voice vote or whatever you call it. So that needs to be changed. And then on the next page, 7, right above F, unless I blanked out, I believe that Treasurer Clinton voted no on this resolution.
Yep, correct.
So that should not say ayes all. It should reflect his no vote.
Okay.
I believe those are the changes to the minutes, and then I have some questions on the rest of the packet, but that's the only set of proposed changes I would urge. You want me to go through the
Yes.
rest?
Jack, yes.
On the building department report, this is really probably minutia, but that's page 10 of the packet. For April, there's an asterisk reflecting operating under COVID-19 orders, but it doesn't say that for March. So is that because only part of March was COVID-19, or do we know?
Well, from the 23rd on, 21st on was COVID.
So that would explain why it's not completely.
Majority of the month.
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
We
Page
didn't-
12.
We didn't quite start going to a more reduced workload until the middle of March at that point. Yeah.
I just wanted clarification. Then on page 12 of the packet, there's a handwritten notation there. What's up with this? I don't understand.
I don't know who put that there. I'm assuming it would have been Sherry Parmelchuk. I don't know.
So could we,
The difference, yeah. Right.
so why is it significant enough to put that in? I'd like just someone to answer that question for me.
Jerry, do you want to handle that one later on?
Okay, and then moving to the two fire department reports for March and April, I'm curious if Chief Phillips could, at some point, tell us what information he's got about HVA's response time, performance during these months. Because he gets reports, I believe.
Chief Phillips, are you on the line?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
It's a question regarding the fire monthly report for Chief Phillips. And Chief, if you can repeat the question, or if you need Jack to repeat it.
If you could have Jack repeat it, I would appreciate it.
I'm curious as to how HVA responded during March and April, if you have data on that.
I do have data on that. HVA has seen a significant decline in transports over March and April, so they were available most of both months to respond to emergencies in Plymouth Township, because their run volume, their typical daily run volume, is at a typically Sunday level, which means that they are overstaffed most days during March and April. The end of April and May, we've seen a rise in run volume again, and they have been getting busier. But a lot of people don't want to go to the hospital. As you know, there's a lot of COVID patients in the hospital, so people were avoiding the hospital. So HVA had plenty of units available, and you'll see that our transports, for the most part, were down.
They're way down, 13% in April. 13% of total transports, which I think it's great from a synergy standpoint, because then you don't have to use as much PPE equipment, and you don't have to expose as many people to a virus in the fire department.
Exactly, and that's what we did. Is we tried to limit the exposure of the crews on each run. So, but my guess is you'll see the numbers go back to normal as this progresses, and as life starts to return for people, and people are going back to work.
Okay,
Trustee Dempsey, any follow-up?
that's helpful. Thank you. The next item is on the FOIA reports, pages 53 and 54. I need my memory refreshed as to why we're not collecting any fees for FOIA requests as is permitted.
Sometimes it depends on whether the information can be sent via email, so you're not having to process it. You just access the file and then send the file out. So very frequently, that has been the case as opposed to going out and manually finding stuff, having to copy it and put it together. One of the FOIAs, like from Ms. Krupra, was just really a repeat of a FOIA that had already been done. And so it just was a matter of saying, yes, this is the same thing, and then sending it on.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I would note that to say the type of information requested is other isn't real helpful. Could that be more detailed? Yeah. Then on the, why are the police records, that has to require some kind of research and time investment.
Somebody.
Is Chief Tidrington?
Chief Tidrington, are you on the line?
I am, but I didn't hear the question.
The question is with respect to the police FOIA requests, there's no fee that is being charged.
I'll have to look into that. I'm not aware of that. I'll have to look into it. And was that from Trustee Kermy?
No, that was Trustee Dempsey.
I'll get back to Trustee Dempsey in the next day or so after I look into it.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you. And last but not least, a couple bill questions. So now this was separate, so I'm not sure how to refer to it other than page 4 of 9 of part of the board report. There are off-site storage costs for records.
Yes.
Is there a way that we can eliminate that? We do have space here in this building.
Some things require climate-controlled storage, certain records, and some of these records we have to keep up to as long as 50 years, so they have to be maintained in a climate-controlled facility in order to facilitate that. And so that has been an ongoing cost, and probably in the past 4 years that we've been here, it's probably gone up $20, $30 a month in the past 4 years.
So
These electronic records, or this is storage, right?
This is storage for records that we have to keep by statute, and they have to be
Physical paper records?
physical paper records, along with some of them are in microfiche and tape type old Xerox tape files that you see, but those have to be maintained and kept in a climate-controlled facility.
Okay, so you've looked at that and there's no way of reducing that cost, apparently.
No.
All right.
What you've seen, like I said, over the past 4 years is a slow, steady increase. It costs now about $30 more a month than it did 4 years ago.
Okay, and then there was a charge for AV postcard application postage, and I know you're going to do a report in the near future on elections issues, but since applications have gone out from a central source, I assume we won't be incurring this kind of postage expense because they've already gone out.
That's true that we won't incur the cost of what the state did. This is what we're required to send out. This is the permanent list that we're required to maintain if people request it, and we have about 6,000 people on that list out of the 23,000 voters on record. So what the state is sending out is the other 16,000. And so this is the part that we're required to mail out.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else on the approval of the consent agenda?
One quick
Yes, Gary.
comment from the broken record. Mutual aid, we gave 19 and we received 4. You know, this trend continues every single month. you know, I would still love to get us back to not having our guys out of the township all the time. That's a huge number, 19 given and only 4 received. So just passing that along to Chief. That's it.
Anyone else on the consent agenda?
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Clerk?
I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, May 26, 2020.
Motion's been made by Clerk Vorba to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Dorshevitz. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Very good. Item E is a public hearing on the First Amendment to the Michigan International Technology Center Redevelopment Authority Brownfield Plan. Mr. Jenks, we have several consultants on the line there, so if you can free them for this particular portion and also for the next as well. So as this is a public hearing, it is 7:17 according to my clock. And I need a motion to open the public hearing for the proposed MITC Redevelopment Authority Brownfield Plan First Amendment. Is there a motion? Mr. Clerk.
I move for the opening of the public hearing for the proposed MITC Redevelopment Authority Brownfield Plan First Amendment.
Motion's made by Clerk Vorba. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Heitman. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Do we have to do a roll call?
Roll call.
Roll call? When you're ready.
Trustee Dempsey?
Yes.
Clerk Vorba, yes. Trustee Dorshevitz?
Yes.
Trustee Kermy?
Trustee Kermy. We'll come back to him.
Treasurer Clinton? Okay,
Got him.
yes, got it. Trustee, Treasurer Clinton?
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey?
Yes.
Trustee Heitman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. So I'll make the hearing start at 7:18 rather than 7:17. With us tonight, we have several consultants from SME, that's the engineering firm that prepared the Brownfield Plan, and also I believe we have Jim Tischler on the line from the state of Michigan, who is a member of the MITC Brownfield Authority. The redevelopment plan is the first amendment to the MITC Brownfield Plan, which was approved by the townships of Northville and Plymouth back in December of 2019. This is being done tonight to accommodate what's known as the Ridge 5 development or the Ridge 5 Corporate Park. This is the southwest portion of Ridge and 5 Mile. This is the parcel that the township sold to Hillside Development over a year ago. If you go out there lately, you will see that it has been prepared for development. A new water line has been installed, and the good news is, despite the downturn in the economy, Hillside has received interest in a new corporate office facility at that site. And so in recognition of that fact, the Brownfield Plan does have to be modified to accommodate this new development. And as I pointed out, when we first did the Brownfield Plan for the MITC, every time there's an amendment to the plan, it has to go back to both Plymouth and Northville townships. That is to improve the transparency of the project and to ensure that the relevant taxing authorities are all aware that this Brownfield Plan is underway and that it will be impacting all of in their own particular way. At this time, I would entertain any comments or questions from the public on this first, and then if Mr. Jenks could free up our various consultants and other interested parties. So at this point, is there anybody in the public who would like to comment on this particular item? Okay. If you are on the phone, you have to hit *9 if you would like to comment. All right. If you still would like to comment, you can still hit *9, but I think I'd like the consultants to weigh in at this point. So I don't know which of you gentlemen would like to go first. Okay.
From SME, I can give you a quick overview.
That's him.
If you remember back in December, you did approve what we called the base brownfield plan, and that plan was designed to incorporate all the parcels within the MITC redevelopment area to make the infrastructure work that's got to be done eligible for reimbursement with the tax increment financing program. And Mr. Chair, as you said quite accurately, each time there's a project within the development area, there will be a new brownfield plan amendment to incorporate that specific project, get it defined as far as what its taxable value is going to be and what the reimbursement for the developer is going to be. And in this particular case, the estimated investment is about $100 million. And the activities that are being funded are about $1,356,494. And at the estimated capture rate, that will be repaid in 9 years. For this particular project, we are only capturing the local incremental tax revenues because by the timing of the project and the timing of our ability to get the brownfield plan, a lot of the eligible activities, of which they're all environmental, have already been completed. And according to the statute, we can only use local tax increment capture for those activities. While that's being paid off, and then subsequent to that payoff, the state education taxes will be captured and put in a pool for the infrastructure. Once the hillside is paid off, their activities are paid off in about 9 years or so, then all of the tax increment will go into, are eligible to go into the infrastructure repayment pool. It won't necessarily all go there because there's going to be dependency on how they allocate the cost of the various infrastructure activities to the two townships. It's not all one mass pool, but that money is available. So it's really good. It incentivizes the developers to come in, and then it also generates significant tax increment revenue to pay off the infrastructure that's needed to support that whole redevelopment area.
So, Mr. Harless, when we talk about the infrastructure, we're not talking about rebuilding 5 Mile Road or anything radical like that. This is for the roads and the underground infrastructure for the site itself. Is that correct?
No, the infrastructure is the roughly $30 million worth of infrastructure that will be the water systems in each township, 5 Mile Road, Ridge Road, the railroad crossings, bridge replacement, and the sanitary sewer system. Again, the responsibility for payment of those specific infrastructure items in each township and then collectively will be worked out by whatever formula the two townships develop in cooperation with MITC.
So how much of this is dependent on a contribution from the state of Michigan?
The reimbursement for Hillside has no state contribution because we're doing local only. The contribution from the state each year at development is about $360,000.
Okay.
And the local tax capture is roughly, that's during the 198 tax abatement period, which is a 6-year period. After that, the state contribution is about $750,000, and the local contribution to infrastructure would be about $700,000.
Okay. I'm going to put you aside right now and ask if Mr. Tischler is on the line from the state.
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Is there anything you would like to add?
I think to the moment, the supervisor and Mr. Harless have provided a good technical detail in terms of what this plan comprises. I'll take you all back to the baseline plan that was adopted back in December. After the payoff to Hillside of the approved costs pursuant to this brownfield plan, as alluded to, the additional revenue will be captured to be deposited into the pool fund that Mr. Harless has identified for the purpose of financing infrastructure improvements, as just been explained as well. So those items were incorporated in the baseline plan. This plan refines the actual cost to the site, which will be developed by Hillside, as has been described a few minutes ago. That's all I have to add.
So when we talk about $30 million rehabilitation of the MITC authority, that is not taking into consideration any grants or loans or anything from the state of Michigan. So theoretically, if all of the parcels are developed in the entire MITC authority in both communities, the estimate is that that would generate the tax revenue necessary, or the tax capture, I should say, necessary for all of that important redevelopment and reconstruction of the road and the other water and sewer infrastructure. Is that a fair statement?
It is, and if you'll allow me to expound upon that, because the baseline plan previously adopted makes estimates as to what will be developed across the entire area. As these projects come in, project to project, they will have the effect of further refining both on dollar cost value and capture the ability to better target and plan what the final capture across, will be. So what I'm going to ask you to imagine is that this is the first of subsequent projects which will have a likelihood of reducing the 30-year estimated capture period for infrastructure finance down to a more reasonable amount predicated on what the projects are going to be. So in future projects that would be coming to this township board, you would likely see a long-term estimate of capture time being reduced project by project by project, as we know what those projects are.
Okay. Now, another question is, I don't want to de-emphasize the importance of the state of Michigan to finance the cleanup of the actual Dohoko prison site itself. That's a substantial investment that the state needs to make. They own the property, they own the parcel, they maybe did not contaminate it, but they own it, and they do have a responsibility to do that. I understand that the state is looking at a couple billion-dollar deficit now going forward, but I would hope that that would not impact their ability to clean up this site and be frankly loan the funding that we need to clean up the Dohoko prison site. That's just more of a statement than a question, unless you want to respond, Jim.
Well, Mr. Supervisor, I can add some additional information for you and for the board members in the audience. You are absolutely correct. There is a full understanding and support remaining to this day within the department, the state land bank, and the administration to support the long-term redevelopment of the former Dohoko site. Of course, this is another property not subject to the current brownfield plan, but is a property that is subject to a significant amount of work that has been undertaken to date between the state land bank and Redico Investments, which is our selected developer working through the machinations and mechanics of how to address the environmental concerns on that site as well as successfully develop it. This project that is before you tonight it's been simply a faster development process being ready to go for this developer Hillside. It would be my opinion that before the calendar year is out, this board, as well as Northfield's board and MITC, will likely see a site with costs and activities that are in support of that as well. And on top of that is the continuing support within the state administrative structure for consideration of financing public for infrastructure, and even consideration by the MEDC for a loan by the developer to upfront finance eligible activities if that brownfield plan comes to fore. So I can summarize by saying the state remains in its multiple areas to this point committed to supporting that project and MITC in general.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I had. Is there anybody behind me here? Mr. Kermy?
A couple of questions. When SME opened up, they said this development is $100 million. What is the $100 million? Is it the building that's going to be built for this alleged corporate headquarters, or is it the roads, the sewer? Is the $100 million? Hello?
Yep, I'm waiting to hear from either Mr. Harless or Tischler.
It's my understanding. This is James Harless. I was waiting to see if I know the SME consultants for Hillside and Hillside we're going to be on the call tonight. I was waiting for them to answer. It's my understanding that this is there are 9 different parcels, so there'll actually be 9 different developments there, and this is just the first one. So the $100 million is going to be the investment value when all of those, when the entire site has been developed.
Oh, okay. This one item, or this one potential tenant or buyer is not going to invest $100 million.
No, they're a piece of that $100 million.
Correct.
$100 million reflects the investment in the entire parcel. There's 9 different parcels, or lots, if you will, on this parcel. So that again is the site that we sold to Hillside a couple years ago.
Which this particular site doesn't have any pollution on it.
No, any pollution that's on this site is minimal, and it's pretty much located on the triangular property, which is bound by the railroad tracks, 5 Mile, and Ridge. And that is only petroleum debris. That's where the prison had a garage there where they stored vehicles and repaired vehicles. So it's pretty much oil and gas drippings from vehicles over the years.
Okay, very minor, less than a couple feet deep. All right. Okay, that answered my question. Now I understand what the $100 million is, and the Hillside property has roads paved in place now.
I don't believe so. I think all it is right now is gravel for the construction equipment. And that would be it at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
So basically, just gravel service roads for future development.
I think they're just getting back into construction of their on-site infrastructure after the shutdown for the COVID-19.
Yes,
More of that finished up this summer.
Yes, I agree. Okay, anybody else on the board has questions?
So just if I could just summarize this in my own mind. So every time we bring on another developer, we're going to have to sign another amendment because we're continuously refining the financial model. True?
True. That's for Harless or Tischler. The question is, and I think, and Mark, jump in, but we said that there are 9 separate lots in this parcel. Do we have, the question for the consultants is, every time somebody builds on one of those lots, do we have to amend the brownfield plan, or does this amendment satisfy the entire parcel?
This amendment
Jim, sir.
satisfies the entire parcel. And what will happen is each development is completed and it is assessed for a taxable value, then we'll start collecting the incremental tax generated by that. So as each development comes online, the taxable value of this project will increase.
But we don't have to keep amending it every time for this site.
Parcel.
For this site.
That is correct. That is correct.
That's correct. This is Jim Fischler. If the board favorably considers this plan, like other brownfield plans you have approved in the past and in other jurisdictions, your approval is in effect approving the activities. There may be adjustments, like there always are, to cost, just because these are estimates at this time. They're really good estimates, but they're estimates at this time on those activities. But those adjustments on a sub-parcel basis will not have to come back to you.
So for example, if the Detroit parcel, which is to the west, if that parcel is sold to a developer and they come up with a plan for redevelopment, that would constitute another amendment to the brownfield plan.
That's correct.
That's correct. Yeah.
So then taxes will be captured for each developer as they refine their model and for the MITC in general. The developers, I'm just, again, summarizing my understanding of this, the developers are going to be fronting the money for their investment. So in this case, Hillside will be fronting roughly $1.4 million, and we will reimburse them over a period of time with tax capture. MITC currently has no source of funding for their investment portion of this. It's like if you build it with, we will come or they will come. Right now, they don't have any, if I'm understanding this correctly, they don't have any source of funding to build the infrastructure. Gary, you're kind of nodding your head. Is that correct?
That's true.
So the only commitment we have in investment right now is from the developer. We still don't have any commitment from the MITC for the infrastructure. If and when we do get that commitment and they invest, we will reimburse them through tax capture. Okay.
MITC did receive a $100,000 grant for marketing the entire, the whole corridor, if you will. So that we're working with and trying to get more and more interest.
Do the consultants have any questions on or comments on those questions?
I couldn't understand. I'm not sure what questions were actually asked.
Okay. I think we got it clarified over here at least. Anybody else? Okay then, I will need to move to close the public hearing at 7:39. Mr. Clerk.
I move that we close the open meeting hearing for the proposed MITC Redevelopment Authority Brownfield Plan First Amendment.
Motion's made by Clerk Vorva. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Heitman. Does this also require a roll call? Yes.
Clerk Vorba, yes. Trustee Dorshevitz. Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Treasurer Clinton.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Trustee Dempsey.
Yes.
Trustee Heitman.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Very good. Next is item E2. This is the resolution adopting and approving the First Amendment to the Michigan International Technology Center, MITC Redevelopment Authority Brownfield Plan. Any other comments or questions by the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adopt. What? Hold on. Okay, who is that from, Bob?
Sue.
Paul Guerin. Okay, well, duly noted. Thank you. Okay, motion. I'm looking for a motion, Mr. Heitman.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to adopt Resolution 2020-05-26-46, authorizing the Board of Trustees to approve the First Amendment to the Michigan International Technology Center Redevelopment Authority Brownfield Plan and authorize the supervisor and clerk to sign any other documents required to effectuate this resolution.
Motion's made by Trustee Heitman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Clerk Vorba. Take the roll when you're ready, sir.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Trustee Heitman.
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Clinton, Treasurer Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Dempsey.
Yes.
Trustee Dorshevitz.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. Thank you very much. And gentlemen, consultants on the line, thank you for your participation.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Next up is item E3. These are amendments to the 2020 budget due to coronavirus impact and other matters. I would like, Ginger, can you handle it from there? Barely.
There you go.
Speak up real loud.
No, that's bad.
Push it one time, let it turn green.
Now, can you hear me?
Much
Oh,
better.
yeah.
But you still gotta speak louder.
Okay, I will try. So before you tonight, as a proactive measure to address anticipated revenue shortfalls, is a proposal to reduce the number of planned capital, non-capital, and transfer expenditures in the fiscal year 2020 adopted budget in the amount of $420,139.44. This is a result of the COVID pandemic closing Michigan businesses, and forecasted state revenue losses in 2020 are anticipated, which will reduce the township's portion of the constitutional state revenue sharing and is anticipated to affect our June and our August payments. The original 2020 adopted state revenue sharing budget that was adopted by the board in November of 2019 was $2,543,700. The proposed budget amendments will reduce the fiscal year 2020 budgets equally, reducing both the revenue and the expenditures that are appropriated in the amount of $420,139.44. After the reduction, the revised 2020 amended state shared revenue budget will be reduced to $2,123,560.56. In addition to the budget reductions, you have before you also a budget request to appropriate restricted fund balance from the PEG funds. The PEG fund restricted balance for fiscal year 19 is currently $283,735. The Township Board has planned to replace the sound system here in the board chambers and had budgeted $20,000 in 2020. Due to the COVID situation and technical difficulties that we've had and wanting to buy a surround system that will accommodate for better technology, has been requested by the administration to increase that budget by $15,000 and appropriate that from the restricted PEG fees. The very bottom of your budget request includes a budget reallocation. The golf course fund was absorbed by the general fund during the course of fiscal year 19. It was determined that the new contractual relationship that the township entered into to run the Hilltop Golf Course no longer qualified the golf course fund as an activity that was considered a business type or enterprise fund. It was determined that the golf course would be absorbed into the general fund, and therefore when we talk about the audit on June 9th, the auditors will explain that the fund balance for 2018 or beginning year fiscal year 19 was restated. The golf course was absorbed into the general fund, Parks and Recreation Department. In the fiscal year 2020 budget, we had budgeted $199,169.70 to be transferred from the general fund to the golf course fund to pay for the advance funding and repay a loan back to the golf course, from the golf course back to the general fund. Because the golf course has been absorbed into the general fund, we will no longer need to make that repayment of advance funding. A portion of that has been requested to be canceled in the amount of $85,200 in your support. And at the bottom, the remaining balance of $113,969.70 is being asked to be repurposed. The golf course has a 2013 capital improvement bond that has principal and interest that will need to be paid for by the general fund. And it also has the contract fee with the Hilltop vendor and some other reimbursable items such as dumpster fees that we need to have budget established for, but then are billed back to Hilltop to be collected as revenue. Are there any questions?
Kermie will have questions, but unfortunately, please excuse me. Because the connection is so bad and the echo, I didn't hear a thing that Ginger unfortunately said. I heard it, but I didn't understand it because of the background reverberations. Anyway, what I'm trying to understand is the expenditures that we are delaying or canceling for police are paid for through drug forfeiture. So how is this going to help us with shortfalls in state shared revenue payments to Plymouth Township?
If you take a look at the backup that's provided, the police department is coming from the general fund 101-305 and not from the drug law funds, which are in the 200 as special revenue. This is state shared revenue that affects the general fund operations of the township's budget. And therefore, suggested reductions in capital improvements are coming from general fund departments.
Okay, I'll have to get that.
Chuck.
Can anyone else?
Yeah.
Everybody here can hear.
Chuck, it's all coming out of general fund. It's not drug forfeiture money.
So the console was not going to be drug forfeiture money at all. All right, I thought that was drug.
The console for the dispatch is not drug forfeiture money.
All right, so now I understand. All right, the one thing is
on the left side of the
35th District Court may be short this year, so we need to start preparing some type of risk and opportunity list because they may be asking us for money. And then the next item is when is the next state revenue conference where they're going to give a better projection on how state shared revenue is come along to us.
I don't know when the next one is.
I'm going to have Mark answer the last question first.
I don't know when the next one is. They just revised their projections within the last 2 weeks. So as of right now, our state revenue sharing will be short by $250,000 from our original budget.
I'm sorry. You said 250,000?
Correct. That's the latest projection from the state's Department of Revenue.
So to answer your first question about the court revenues, we are extremely concerned about that due to the lack of prosecutions that have occurred over the last several months. I don't know, I'm looking to our township attorney, Kevin Bennett. How many times have you been in court since this whole thing started?
Well, court has been closed to the public since the first executive order. We do go there maybe once a week to fill out plea forms for cases that have retained attorneys and court-appointed attorneys, and then they put those pleas on the record via Zoom. So my involvement in 35th District Court personally has been a lot less than it typically would be.
So, Chuck, to answer your questions, we're very concerned about it. The court revenues we expect are going to be down dramatically. As you know, what little revenue we do get from the courts, the communities have decided to put that money into the courts, OPEB, and pension funds because they were extremely underfunded over the years. They had to do a get well plan just like we did. So any revenues that we get out of the court right now go into OPEB. I would not be surprised if the court now comes to us next year or even sooner and says, we need the communities to pay us as well. That discussion will be no doubt very contentious and will no doubt raise issues of budget cuts and other cost savings that can be seen at the court.
I think they made a few already, did they not?
They've made some, but not. Not enough. I mean, it's a fairly lean operation there too, but they're going to have to do something maybe more dramatic. I don't know what that's going to look like.
So for 2021 budget planning, which, wow, is already here, because we're half done for this year, well, we're going to have to watch that one close. And when do they give their reports? Are they once a month or once a quarter? And when would we get the next one?
Would more than likely be in September is when we would get the next financial report update from the court administrator. No? Ginger? Huh? No, state share. No, we're talking about the court funding. Yeah. I think that's quarterly what we get from the court.
All right. So, well, we might get one at the end of sometime in July. At the end of the second quarter.
I would hope so that we'll get something from them. I'd have to go back and see how frequently we get the court financials. Ginger, do you? No. I mean, we're pretty sure it's quarterly. So we should see something, I would hope, by late June, early July, and it's probably not going to look. It's not going to look good.
Is there a judge election this year?
Yes, Judge Plakas is up, and he is unopposed.
All right. Okay. I'm glad everybody is thinking about risk because there may be more with the state and the county pleading poverty.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Board members?
I have some questions. So, to Treasurer Clinton, you just said there's a $250,000 expected reduction, but this is for $400,000. Can you explain the difference?
Yeah, so when we originally went through this exercise, probably about 3 to 4 weeks ago, a number of us sat down and tried to identify what the risk might be and what the corrective action might be. We identified the range of risk and revenue anywhere between $200,000 and $400,000 and decided to take corrective action at the higher level at $400,000. So how could we trim $400,000 out of the budget? After we had gone through that exercise, we got the updated revenue projections from the state, and it was at the lower end of the spectrum. It was $250,000 shortfall versus the $400,000. That's not to say that figure is set in stone, and there may be other revenue sources that are impacted. So we kind of discussed it. I'm not going to say it was an in-depth discussion, but we said, okay, we anticipated $400,000 loss. The latest projection is $250,000. What do you want to do? And we decided we should stick with the conservative and go for $400,000 in cuts, assuming that there's going to be more revenue shortfalls to come.
Great idea.
That's very helpful, but this doesn't propose $400,000 in cuts. This proposes $420,000 and some.
Yeah.
Why?
Correct. We just went through the capital projects and looked at what was necessary versus what was a wish, and basically cut the wishes.
Well, of everything on this list, there are 2 items that are directly impactful of the public. I'm not talking about a sign, replacing a sign, but I'm talking about under parks, bike racks, and the soccer nets. So I did check with Mr. McCurdy about the soccer net issue. And because of what's happened, and I won't go into a long story, but he essentially, I wouldn't say necessarily supports, but he says that's a good deferral. They don't need new soccer nets this year. So they think that's a good idea to excise that $15,000, even though theoretically it would affect the public. The chief spokesman for our Premier Soccer Club says that's fine. $2,500 in bike racks. I would like us to exempt that, to eliminate that from these cuts. It's a pittance, but it is a gesture of us saying that recreation is important, and we don't need to cut that $2,500. So I'd like us to agree, maybe a friendly amendment here, that we would not cut the bike rack expenditure of $2,500. I think that would be a good thing to do. We need some good positive news. I've heard that many times, and having a few bike racks around says we're investing in our parks and we're making it possible for people to bike easier. In fact, I should have thought of this. I was driving today by the park, and at Beck and Ann Arbor Trail, here's a father and a son riding their bikes crossing that street. So people are doing that, and I think it'd be a good gesture, a positive gesture for this board not to make that specific cut.
Okay.
So summarize what he said, please, somebody.
Mr. Trustee Dempsey wants to keep the bike racks, the $2,500 bike racks, in the to exclude them from being cut.
Let me add
How
one.
many racks are they, and where would they be going?
I don't know. I don't know how many bike racks we were going to buy.
Yeah, we discussed this, and we all thought it was a good idea, so I don't know why we need to go back over it. But I'll add one item to the mix here, which is that we also budget $1,000 towards the cost of the Memorial Day parade. You may remember this, as a gesture to show, obviously, support for our vets and so forth. Well, that expenditure did not need to be made this year because of what happened with the event yesterday. So that's $1,000 in savings that we can build into this budget right here. We will not be spending that $1,000 this year. So if we add that in, now we're talking about a net of $1,500. And come on.
So, Mr. Kermy, the situation is that we saved $1,000 because we did not have a traditional Memorial Day parade this year, that we were going to donate $1,000 to that cause. The bike racks, I think that's like one or no, I can't imagine it being more than 2 bike racks. I think the game plan was to put them at one at Township Park and then maybe somewhere else. I'm not familiar with where the other location might be. It could be here, it could be at Township Hall, it could be at maybe one of the smaller parks, but we can worry about that later. I have no problem with the friendly amendment to retain the bike racks.
Appreciate that.
Well, are you going to retain it at the full 2,500, or are you going to retain it at 1,000, which was the offset from the Memorial Day?
We're going to keep it at 2,500. There's no, I don't see any line item here for Memorial Day. I think when we prepared this chart about a month ago, at that time, it was still uncertain if we assumed at that point, we had been told that there was not going to be any Memorial Day celebration at all. So we didn't.
Yeah, that wasn't a capital expense. It's in the budget as like an intergovernmental transfer or something like that.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's in the budget, Chuck, as an intergovernmental transfer. We'll note that, and it'll pop up on the other side of the ledger. But the bike racks, we'll keep the bike racks.
They're special.
I haven't bought any yet.
I haven't bought a bike rack in a while. I buy fire engines a lot. I can tell you about what's going on with fire engines. But we'll try. We'll always do our best to get a good competitive price.
Okay. Ready?
And then the sound system for the board chambers. Now, we had, since the building went up running in 2006, we've done 2 major upgrades or replacements, and they always fail. What are we reducing here, and are we still keeping an upgrade? We just cheapened it. Tell me about that.
Well, we didn't cheapen it. We've actually added more money to the cost because the COVID crisis has taught us that we need to have a wireless system. We need to have a solid, redundant system that's reliable. We don't have that right now. Our system is clearly portable, which is nice, but it's not reliable, and it fails way too often. I don't know, Chuck, but I mean, I've been coming to township board meetings now for 10 years, actually longer than 10 years, and I think that this is still the sound system that I was familiar with, the board using. I think Mr. Rayom either bought this system or had a hand in putting it together. So the problem is it's old. It's at least a 10-year-old system. It's not reliable. It's not redundant, and we need something that's portable and that is a more robust system going forward. And because of COVID, we've learned now that there are times like today where we have to be more mobile and we have to be moving people around, and we can't all just sit at the front desk here with fixed stationary microphones. Jerry, do you have? Well, I think we budgeted originally, what, 20? This would take it to 35. I doubt we're going to need all that, but we've been doing some research on, because right now the people in the sound business like this are not working. So it's been very difficult for us to put together the bid documents to actually know what we're looking for. What we know now, though, is we need a better system than we first anticipated a year ago. So now we're going to start going out for bids. We're finally going to start talking to some real people who can give us some solid proposals. Again, I hope we don't have to spend $35,000, but I don't want to keep coming back to the board for an increase on a system that is constantly changing.
We've got to have some, I know we spent money in the past and it didn't work. It may have something to do with the acoustics in the building, so we need to make sure we are doing it right. Because I'm confident we spent money before and it's turned out it wasn't what we expected. So be careful.
Yep.
Yeah, about...
Make sure you get the right people. I don't know anything about acoustic and sound systems, so hopefully we got somebody either in the township or a citizen or somebody who can come forward who's a lot smarter than us.
Yes.
Thank you. You'll present that to us, will you not?
Yes.
Yeah. I have another question which has to do with this whole thing with the golf course loan. And what I understood was because we went with a new vendor, now something has changed and we have to change our treatment. I don't understand that at all.
Ginger, let me take a crack at it, and if I screwed up, then you can correct me. But when you read our financial statements, you have government activities and you have business activities. And I think you understand the difference, right? We're basically the government activity, and the other things then, like the senior transportation, like the water and sewer fund, like the golf course, were business activities, and you account for them different, et cetera. The golf course used to be a business activity, and it changed into a business activity when the previous vendor came in, Billy Casper Golf. Because of the financial arrangement, they were basically managing, but they were managing our funds. So it became our business. And as a result, it was now, it was reported as a business activity. This new arrangement with ADM, we pay them a management fee and the risk is entirely on them. So it becomes their business. Our exposure is simply the management fee, so we no longer need a golf course fund or a golf course business activity. All we need is a check to write out to them to manage the golf course for us. So we inquired and the auditors agreed that we could dissolve that golf course fund and just move it into our general fund. And as a result, we didn't owe them any money because we became commingled. Make sense?
That makes sense. Can you explain the parentheses, $113,000?
No way. Ginger's going to have to do that.
So in budget terms, what that means is that we're taking the money out of that budget, it's a negative, and we're reallocating it to the other 4 line items. So the sum of those 4 items equal 113. So it's a net zero. It's just a reallocation of the existing funds into the appropriate general ledger account number for the activity.
It's a wash.
Yes.
It's a wash. It's just a reallocation, but it's crossing from general operating into Parks and Recreation Department, so it requires a board action because we adopt budget by department.
Okay, and question technically, is that in the resolution, the text of the actual resolution? Just want to make sure that.
The resolution says to reduce the 2020 general fund budget appropriation and the proposed capital outlay expenditures in the amount of $421.39, and to reallocate the adopted associated with the golf course operation to the proposed general ledger accounts for 2020's contractual services, debt services, and building and ground expenditures of $113,969.70. That's within the motion.
So the answer is yes.
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 All set, Jack?
Thank you.
So Ginger,
I expect the golf course to potentially do better than anticipated this year because youth sports are canceled, and all these weekend tournaments, people don't have much to do. They may play golf with their family or their friends.
Well, they had 6 weeks closed.
Well, I agree. They're thrilled, Chuck, with the level of activity so far. As you recall, last year, a year that we basically broke even, we didn't even start the season until the 1st of June.
Right.
Because May was a wash. It was soaking wet. This year we've had, if you want to call it the benefit, we've had the benefit of a number of people in the community not working, so they have time to play golf. And we've had great weather, which opened up the golf course early. So that there's been a lot of activity, not only on the weekends in that golf course, but during the week as well. So I agree with your assessment. We're going to have a better year than we did last year at the golf course.
In the emergency order, basically now it's one person per golf cart as well. So they're selling more golf carts too.
But what does that mean for us if they have a better year? Because we're paying them $75,000 anyway.
Any profit that's made on the golf course at the end of the year, we split it 50-50.
Yep, perfect.
so I am going back to the resolution here based on the changes that we've made. So this number will be 417,639.44.
That is correct.
We all did it.
Anybody else on the board have any questions? Chuck, you all set?
Yeah, we just got to collect everything we're owed, especially transport, because every dollar is going to count now because we'll have to cut for anything we don't receive in revenue. So I know that Mark Clinton will be working hard on that, and also our collection company in Lansing for transports.
Yes.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Heitman?
I move to adopt Resolution 2020-05-26-47, authorizing the Board of Trustees to approve the amendments to reduce the 2020 general fund budget appropriations and the proposed capital outlay expenditure accounts in the amount of $417,639.44, and to reallocate the adapted budget associated with the golf course operations to the proposed general ledger accounts for 2020 contractual services, debt service, and building and ground expenditures of $113,969.70.
Thank you. Motion's made by Trustee Heitman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Kermy. That's fine. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Heitman.
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes. Treasurer Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Dempsey.
Yes.
Trustee Dorshevitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Nice job, Ginger.
Thank you, Ginger. Okay, we are moving on to supervisor and trustee comments. Well, we're back again in this format. It's still nice to see all your faces, mostly covered or uncovered. We appreciate that, and we are going to be meeting again on next Tuesday. That'll be Tuesday, June 2nd. We'll have a few items. June 2nd was originally scheduled to be a study session, but it will be a special meeting as we anticipate people will be here regarding the sidewalk replacement program. Next Monday, Township Hall will be open all day during our normal hours of 8 a.m. to 4:30. We will have a series of levels, layers, challenges for people to get through before they can actually go in to meet us in the building. We are encouraging people not to come into the building. If there is anything that you can do online, by phone, where you can always pay the water bills or do other regular correspondence through our mailboxes out in front. So think about, if you're going to come to Township Hall, is this trip really necessary? If you're just coming to pay a water bill, you can do that outside. You can do that online. If you need plan reviews, if you have to if you have to pay a bond or something like that for a construction project, then yeah, you're going to have to come in. If you do that, please call ahead. Call the department that you would like to meet with so we know you're coming. It's all about controlling the number of people who can be in the building and to make sure that we know where you are at all times for your safety and for ours. Anyone coming into the building will have to wear a mask. You will also have to comply with all of our other safety protocols, 6-foot distance, where we've got markers on the floor where you can stand. So we're ready. We're ready in that context. The employees are certainly ready, and we're eager to get back into a more predictable pattern starting next Monday. We've been open part-time now for the last 2 weeks, and even before that, we were open on an as-needed basis, and people were working from home and working from here in this building as well. So we hope to return to some level of normalcy, a different mode of operating, but we'll be doing that by next Monday. Mr. Clerk.
I'm fine.
Mr. Dorshevitz.
Fine, thanks.
Heitman.
For those of you that are having problems with cans and bottles, like I am, tomorrow and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 3 o'clock, the PCEP Student United Way is sponsoring a can and bottle drive, and it is at the City of Plymouth DPW. You can drop off your cans and bottles. You can throw them all in one bag, too. They said they'll be more than happy to take whatever you've got. And once you go into the DPW yard, you follow the signs to the drop-off area, and they're going to have volunteers there. And they're willing to take all the aluminum cans and plastic and glass bottles we can do. So.
Okay. All set?
Yep.
Trustee Dempsey? Hold on, Chuck. Trustee Dempsey?
One item I'd like potentially to be on the agenda next week. I was chatting with Trustee Heitman about an article in Hometown Life that talked about how certain communities are expediting procedures to help food establishments, restaurants, and I understand there's some work going on in that front here, and I'd love to hear you talk about that in some organized way next week.
Yeah, we can do that. We're working on a temporary 90-day permit that would be approved administratively by me. It would not go to the Planning Commission, but it would go through the Planning Department and through the Building Department. And it would allow an establishment, let's take Red Olive, for example, where they could expand their outdoor seating, but they still have to comply with all the state liquor license requirements. We would also mandate that they have adequate ingress and egress for any kind of emergency. Signage, no crazy signage, no banners or flags or anything like that. But right now, I think it's down to a one-page form that the applicant would have to fill out, and we would take a look and see if this is something that we could allow. So the whole idea would be to allow restaurants, possibly bars, to have more outdoor seating, just as a way to get people back in business and to show the business community, the restaurant community, that we're doing all we can to help them out.
I assume that was going to come here for action, right? I'd like to be part of that.
It could, yeah. We could approve it in some, we could bless it in some form or fashion, but it was never meant to be a permanent thing. And so we would hope that we would not.
Let's make it an action item next week.
Pardon me?
Let's make it an action item next week.
Yeah, we could do that.
Great.
Okay.
I love this board. You're so cooperative and public spirited and public minded.
You are smiling under there, aren't
And
you?
I'm not even running for reelection.
Well, right now, the county has got an 88-page report just off of restaurants and, trucking and busing, and, I mean, there's a ton of stuff. I'm working with Wayne
Okay.
County twice a week, and, we're,
So you're trying to tell me some good news
yeah.
about 88 pages.
Well, everybody's working hard to get
All right.
exactly what we're trying to get to here. So,
Because I read McKenna's report about
yeah,
we're still waiting for some people to act
Yeah.
across the way here, right?
yeah.
Well, let's act.
But it's good news, yeah.
Let's not take to court inappropriately. Anyway,
Right.
I
We'll
yield
have
the
that
balance
on-
of my time.
We will have that on the next agenda. It will just be, I'll work something out. I'll just do a cover memo and we'll have the policy, and we'll probably have to have Laura at that meeting as well to explain it. So, yeah, well, I know. June. All set? Okay, Trustee Kermy.
All right, I have a few things. One is the census. Plymouth Township is probably the best complier in the state, or very high. But I'd like something on our homepage, in the e-news. I know it's on Facebook, thank you, and add it to the newsletters to get people to finish up, especially maybe we need to target. In fact, I thought we allocated $10,000, which I thought was a lot of money for census. But Independence Village and apartment complexes is where we need to somehow get the message to them as much as possible. So keep that in mind, getting the census, helping the feds get their job done, because I don't know if they're going to go door to door until later in the year or something. The next item is on our homepage. When you go to upcoming events and click, you get a 2016 calendar of events. So somebody may want to audit the website to see why the 2016 is coming up. And the last item has to do with another cost reduction on retired employees who are working. We need to look, are we going to get them to move to their new employer's insurance, which in general are governments, to save $25,000 a family? And open enrollment is coming up. Please take some action. That's easy, low-hanging fruit. And they can come back to the township when they retire or they get unemployed or whatever. It's really no damage to the employee.
Okay, so let me start. We'll go in reverse order. As far as that insurance issue you're talking about, that's the attestation issue. We had that discussion last year. We pretty much tabled it. I have no problem bringing it back, but that really has to be a board decision that should be made. I wanted to have that discussion, gosh, I think the first week of April, but I'm happy to bring that back. I would hope that we would be in a better organizational format here. It's a tough discussion to have over the phone and stuff. So
Yeah, you're right.
yeah. So we'll
Open enrollment start when? August, typically, for?
It's in the fall. I think it's in September.
So they've got to know in plenty of time.
Right. Now, on the census issue, yeah, you're right. We do have an incredible return rate right now. We're over 84% the last time I checked.
Third best in the county.
Third best in the county. And we've been putting census on the e-news. It was in the last hard copy newsletter. We can put it, I don't know, I'm looking at Bob Jenks. Maybe it was on the website before COVID hit, but we can try to, we'll recycle that one and bring that back because everything right now has been COVID dominated. And then of course it's every week we update it on Facebook and try to encourage those numbers. The $10,000, Some of that may have been touched, but that was allocated to Sarah Weissel, who is our point person on census. Again, prior to COVID, there were meetings and webinars and things that she was attending, but all of that has been put on hold for now. And I don't think they're going to be doing, I don't think the census now, I think they've pushed it into October. But that doesn't mean we don't want you to respond. But I don't think they're going to start sending people door to door probably until the fall, if ever at this point. I think that was it. Yeah, there might be, and then Ginger and Mark and I can talk about that later. But it's a possibility. We'll see.
Wait till the program starts.
Okay, I'm going to move on to Mark.
I'm all set.
Mark's all set. But Jerry,
Just wanted to.
are you on?
Am I on now? I just wanted to wish happy birthday to Jack. He's now,
The oldest?
right now, the oldest guy on the board for a couple of about 12 more days.
Wow. Wow. Happy birthday.
We're all under 70, though, right? All right. Okay, public comments and questions. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to start with the people who are here tonight, and then we will ask anybody who's on the phone to hit *9, and you will be recognized by Mr. Jenks, who will forward that to my attention. Okay, anybody would like to speak at this point? Live in the building? John Stewart? And I don't know what mic to use, but just speak up because it's on.
Thank you, Clerk Barba. I'm a singer. I like the sound people to take care of those things, although I did take a physics class in acoustics. And that's some of what I want to reflect on here tonight. I want to thank the 9 people who are paid by the taxpayers of Plymouth Township who are here tonight. 9. This room could easily host 30 more people with 6-foot distancing. Now, in 1934, my father started attending Wyandotte Kiwanis every Tuesday noon at the Presbyterian Church. He died in 2001 with a 66-year and 6-month perfect weekly attendance record. I'm a little dismayed that there aren't more people here. Now, there's a metaphor in baseball of 9, that at least 50 years ago, the scorecard, you were listed as one of the 9 players who got to go out on that field and play. You were in the arena. If you were not on that scorecard, you were out. Showing up is everything, and Kevin Bennett realizes, too, the worst insult you can do to a judge is to not appear. I want to thank you for your sensitivity to fiscal responsibility. We have a supervisor who has some legislative experience, although not being on appropriations like I was for 6 years. I'm very worried about our decreasing revenue sharing. I'm very worried about our economic impact of COVID-19. So, with that, I just want to thank you for being here and leave you with my father's tie clasp, an acronym of YCDB, SOYA. You can't do business sitting on your gluteus maximus.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? You have to come up to the front here.
Hold it about 6 inches from your mouth.
Take it off.
Okay. I'm here tonight about my tree and my sidewalk. And so I live close by, a couple blocks away from here. And I did get the notice that because of my sidewalk coming, up, that I was responsible to have it fixed, and so on and so forth. However, the fact of the matter is the sidewalk has not, where the line is, where they connect, the different pieces of the sidewalk, has not opened up. Has not opened up. It hasn't, in other words, it's exactly the way it was before it had this rise in it, which is because of this massive maple tree in my front yard that was there when I moved in. And it's grown, it's huge, it's beautiful. However, the roots are literally pushing up the sidewalk. I'm surprised that it didn't separate because you can see some sidewalks are actually separated where those lines are.
You mean cracked? So the sidewalk's not cracked, it's just elevated.
My sidewalk, yeah, and I did bring, and I'm going to just leave these, I did take a few pictures just to show that the area that is being referred to in the notice, there is no, like I said, no separation at this time between the two pieces of sidewalk. They are up, but they're not separated. And the roots of this tree are so massive. Recently, the gas line replacement came up the street, did every house, got to my house, and they had to start digging right next to this tree. They dug and dug and dug, and then they had a huge hole. But then they said, there's no way that we can continue with this because of the tree, the roots, and so on and so forth. This is, again, a very old, massive tree. And so they said, they would put all my grass back in. However, whatever they used, it was horrible and did not work. And so I'm now, with my neighbor, we're trying to reseed and so on. And that was quite a ways back. But the roots of this tree, as I said, are completely encased in that exact area of the sidewalk. So that's why I came tonight, to just let you know that I just don't feel there's anything I can do with this official notice of, in any way, that you cannot change this situation.
Okay.
That's it.
So here's what I'd like you to do. If you could write down, Jerry, if you could give her something. I need you to write down your name and your address.
I did that.
And your phone number. Okay. Because what we'll do is we'll have our township engineer contact you, and they may make a site visit. We are aware that tree roots are a problem throughout your neighborhood.
Right.
We also will allow individuals to mud jack a sidewalk. It's not preferred, but we would allow that in some cases. But what will happen is our engineer will take a look at this site, and what I suspect he will recommend is that we remove the slabs and we have to whack at the roots. Are you okay with that? Because that's the only way we're going to fix it.
Well,
because your slabs are probably not cracked.
I don't know.
They've been pushed up.
That you're going to even be able to remove those roots. They're going to have to make that decision.
Well, we're not going to have to remove them all. What we're going to do is physically chop the roots that are above grade, and we're going to bring it down to grade, and then we're going to put the sidewalk slabs hopefully back in as they currently exist. That I don't know if that's doable, but
right. It's a terrible situation
Yeah.
here with that tree. But
well, we don't want to hurt the tree. We don't want to kill the tree or
Right.
anything, but we're
Right.
going to have to cut away at the roots so that we create a level path.
Yeah, because it does kind of come into a
Yeah.
little thing.
It's been done many times in the township and previous sidewalk projects. We've seen that done in many other instances around. When we don't, we don't kill the tree. We don't want to take the tree down, but we do have to whack away at the roots and bring it down back to normal grade. The million-dollar question is whether or not we're going to sacrifice the sidewalk slabs while we're doing that.
Well, and then again, and I am just kind of, letting you know that these roots,
Right.
the tree is massive, as you can see in the pictures. And you can see how I've got arrows showing where this is, and it hasn't separated, which is very surprising. I mean, it's still, totally in place. Yeah,
they haven't cracked. The slabs have not cracked. It doesn't look like they've cracked. It's the roots are just pushing it up right at the junction of the two slabs. We'll take a look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else?
Dan Callahan. Just a quick note, we're unable to, through the internet, to get the packet for tonight's meeting. And one of the other fellows couldn't get it either. We could not download it. Could not get the packet, the 106 pages, where we discussed all the different parts to the shortage. Yeah, the whole thing. It wasn't available to be downloaded from the internet.
Are you talking about the bill payments?
The total, not the agenda, but the other 106-page packet.
The backup?
Yeah, the backup. Usually it's available.
Yeah, it was online. I linked to it and everything on Facebook and all that.
I downloaded it right before the meeting, so.
Okay.
It's been out there since last Friday.
It said it was changed on the 22nd.
What happened?
On the 22nd, there was an adjustment to it, but I couldn't download it, and John couldn't download it either.
I don't know. It's been online. It's been on Facebook. It's been all. I didn't have a problem with it at all.
Thank you.
It would only give the first 3 pages, but then I finally got the 106 pages.
Okay. When we post this, Chuck, on the agenda, there's 2 segments. There's the agenda, which is the 3 pages, and then there's a part that says packet. And when you click packet, then you get the whole thing, the entire agenda package.
I'm aware. This afternoon, it had agenda/packet, and you click on that, and you only got the 3 pages, and there was no other option to get the remaining 103 pages. But I finally, don't ask me how, but I finally got through it again because I looked at it on Saturday and then tried to do it again.
You have to put your cursor right over the word package, and you have to click right over the word package.
Okay, maybe that's what I didn't do, and in the past I was lucky and was able to make. I did the right thing, luckily. But, all right, just my 2 cents.
Okay, we're all set, and I need a motion. Oh, you have a raised hand. All right, we have somebody online. Okay, my PC will be brought on. Hello, my PC. Okay, we've unmuted somebody called my PC. Are you there? If there is somebody wishing to speak, you can do so right now. Nope, I'm not getting anybody. We have somebody on the line called My PC who wishes to speak. You raised your hand. Do you want to speak at this time? Okay. Is there anybody out there who would like to address the board? This is my 3rd attempt.
Unmute everybody now.
Okay, let's unmute everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, now everybody is unmuted. Does anybody wish to speak at this time?
Yes, this is Dwayne Zantop. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. In Ann Arbor Trail, there's traffic that comes up the hill, speeding like hell. And Blackstock October, I'm sure you're aware of it. I had an accident there at that corner. I had 7 broken ribs and some cracked sternum. People might stop what they do. They're going out, cutting these trees, doing them down and stuff. So I went to the board several times. You guys didn't answer. You are muted. About that. But yesterday, I started doing some research, and we do have an ordinance in place. It's Ordinance 99, 396 and 397, Section 28 and 29. So I'd like to see this ordinance enforced from now on before someone gets killed on these corners and other corners.
Okay, if you could follow up with an email on that to us. I don't think he can hear me. 2 people are together. Well, I know I'm. Yeah, we all did.
Yeah, we all heard it. We all saw the emails, too.
No, it's not what he said. So here's what we'll do, Mr. Zantop. If you could send us another email, we'll investigate this.
Thank you.
It's not the solution. No, it's not the solution, Chuck. We will investigate this ordinance. Okay. Okay, thank you. I need a motion to adjourn if there's nobody else, Mr. Jenks. Okay.
Mr. Supervisor?
Yep, Mr.
I
Heitman.
move we adjourn 8:37.
Mr. Heitman moves to adjourn at 8:30. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Clerk Vorva. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye.